All right. Welcome back. Hope you found that video informational. So last panel, we had a series of workshops that really kind of explain the foundation of Sonic, how the technology works. But in this panel, we're going to dive into a more abstract layer of this, how the users are actually going to be interacting with the Sonic network. So I'm going to be bringing out Michael Kong and Nick DiSisto from the who does BD for Trust Wallet. And we're going to learn a little bit about how wallets are going to help bring this whole thing together. So please give a round of applause to Nick DiSisto and Michael Kong. Hey, have fun up.
So how's it going, everyone? Thanks for still being here in the afternoon. Appreciate it. A few fewer people here in the morning, but that's okay. I think everyone's having a good time. So, today I wanted to talk to Nick from Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet is one of the biggest, if not like the biggest, crypto custodian wallet out there, self-custodial wallet. They're a great sponsor of ours, which is great. And it's great that Nick is here with us to talk about Trust Wallet and what they're doing with Sonic as well. So Nick, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and my first question to you is just tell me a bit about yourself and your role at Trust Wallet.
Sure. So I lead the BD team over the Trust Wallet, and what I primarily focus on is swap providers, assessments, and then our existing partners. We also have on-ramps, so whether you want to buy crypto through one of our various providers, I also try and do some of the more technical stuff, so whether that be MEV or some of our infra, RPC contracts, I also try and help out as much as I can. But we have a few BDs. I just lead one part of that big picture, but yeah, that's what I do over at Trust Wallet.
Awesome, yeah. And obviously, there are many crypto self-custodial wallets that are out there now that have come in over the times. I think Trust Wallet is several years old now, and it was really great having Trust Wallet deploy on Sonic quite early on, because honestly, probably the number one DAF that people were messaging us about in terms of wallets was just Trust Wallet. The reason we got them on as early as possible is because everyone was just messaging me and the team about, when's Trust Wallet going to come on board? I use Trust Wallet, it's great. Please just get them on board. Users were basically just begging us. So it was great that, you guys have deployed on us and, all those voices have kind of quieted down a bit and are kind of happy. But my question to you now is, how does Trust Wallet differentiate itself from all those other self-custodial wallets that are out there?
Yeah, so for starters, we're the number one self-custody wallet on both iOS and Android. So we recently crossed over 200 million downloads. I mean, you got to think about that for a minute. 200 million people have downloaded Trust Wallet on their mobile phone. So that's pretty big. We also have a browser extension, but the biggest part of this is how do we keep these people, using Trust Wallet? If we go back to our original founder, Victor, he wanted to buy meme coins, but he didn't want to carry around his laptop because, some of the time, wallets didn't really support it on the phone as well. So our mission was trying to basically, how can we put a wallet on the user's phone and make sure that it's secure, safe, and easy to use? And that's kind of what we really built ourselves around. It's about the users, right? Because without them, we wouldn't be here today. So we take that very much important in stride, especially when it comes to our UX. We want to make it as seamless as possible and make it easy for everyone, On some of the older browser extensions, you'd have to go in and put the RPC address and all of these complicated things. And that's not going to build your next 1 billion users, right? You got to target your entry-level people and onboard and cater to everyone, not just your newbies and your beginners, but also, your degens that want to buy these meme tokens. So you have to be ready for that and make sure that the tokens are displaying without having to go, add an RPC address or the token address and all that kind of stuff. And bridging that gap is really important for us. Awesome,
sounds good, yeah. And what do you see as the main challenges with getting users on board? Because as I mentioned in my presentation, it's all about the user experience in the end. And I know some people now still have trouble loading up wallets, what is a wallet, what is a seed phrase, and what's all of this stuff. So how do you guys at Trust Wallet basically just make the online experience as easy as possible? Because you guys have definitely done a good job. Because I think when it comes to in particular mobile applications or self-custody wallets, it's all about making it as easy as possible to be onboarded. I think those are the kind of like applications that kind of like win in the end, especially on the mobile. So how do you guys like deal with those challenges of onboarding people?
Yeah, so I was actually giving a talk about 2 weeks ago. And if you look at Google Analytics and you search the word Bitcoin, number 5 is Bitcoin stock. So here we are in 2025, and people still think Bitcoin's a stock. So we have this massive educational piece that needs to be addressed. So how can we abstract that as much as possible? So when you open up the Trust Wallet for the first time, you can do the sign in with Apple, use the passkeys, write down your seed phrase. We want to make that as seamless as possible. So whether you're kind of that user who's like, I need to write these 12, 24 words down, and it needs to be safe, we've got you covered. If you don't really care about that, and you just want to use your iPhone, you got your iCloud backup, you're perfectly fine doing that. It's an easy, seamless way to log in. The other thing is we take security very seriously. So whether that be DApp scanning, contract scanning for tokens, we want to make sure that we're warning users about that kind of stuff. Stuff that the typical newbie wouldn't have to worry about. So we want to take a minute to address all of those things.
Awesome, yeah. And obviously Trust Wallet isn't just like a wallet where you deposit and withdraw crypto. I think one of the great things about Trust Wallet is that it seems like to me like so easy just to like actually interact with the chain more than just like transferring between wallets or doing payments. So participating in various DeFi protocols, various kind of like NFT projects as well, and other like sorts of applications that are integrated into the network. And I think that's one of the reasons that Trust Wallet is so popular. So my question is like, what more are you looking to do with Sonic? Because right now you guys have integrated a wallet. People who can open Trust Wallet can go in there, can see the S balance, can see like other standard ERC20 tokens as well on the Sonic network, and they can obviously like trade with one another or transfer between tokens or just hold it on the wallet itself. So whatever ideas do you have in mind in terms of expanding on the Sonic ecosystem itself?
Yeah, so obviously we're aware that swapping is going to be the next thing that we should be targeting. So whether that be same chain, cross chain, we're working with our current providers to make sure that we can get the best quotes possible for our users. So that'll be coming soon. I don't have a timeline yet, but I'm hoping soon. The next thing is obviously DApps, and how can we feature that? So right now, if you actually go into the app and you hit the Discover section, you're able to see a Discover section for Sonic specifically, and you can see some of the top DApps. So I don't know if you guys saw the demo earlier for like the transaction testing. Luckily, I opened up my Trust Wallet, and the DApp connection worked perfectly. So glad to see that. That's going to be our big next focus, is making sure that that DApp connection is seamless across all devices, and that any DApp you want to go to, whether that it's a swap, whether it's some NFT thing, anything you're trying to do, we want to make sure that it's a seamless experience across the board, regardless of chain, right? Because we also support over 100 chains as well. So whether it be Sonic or anything else, we want to make sure we have the best experience possible.
Cool, yeah. And my follow-up question to that, also related to Sonic, is when you guys announced that Trust Wallet was integrated, obviously there were a lot of people that were happy and it was great, and I got a lot of positive messages. And then there was also a campaign that we run with you guys as well. Did you want to go into more detail about that campaign and other things that you're collaborating with Sonic Labs on with regards to Trust Wallet and Sonic together? Yeah.
So the details of that campaign was basically mostly about education and promoting, because people weren't really aware maybe of the Phantom to Sonic migration. They needed some more details about why should I use this, because at the end of the day, if you're thinking about, let's say, a token, you want to buy a meme coin. Some people don't really care about what chain it is. Now, we have to cater to those users as well. So we want to make sure that regardless of what chain is actually handling it, we want to make sure that all users are addressed. Specifically with that campaign, we wanted to make sure that users were aware of Sonic, understood that the high throughput was very important, and what you guys were doing differently. And that's what the main target of that campaign was, whether that be social media posts, whether that be in-app notifications, and that's all the kind of things that we like to do. What are we planning going forward? So obviously we're working very closely with the team, and we're open to doing any kind of other future campaign promotions. I know as we're coming out, you guys are just coming out, more DApps and more DApps will come out. So making sure we promote those as many as possible, making sure we're capturing the trending things, whether that be a token, a particular DApp as mentioned again, making sure we're capturing whatever the market feels is right, whether that be with our team and your team or anyone else.
Cool, awesome, yeah. So my next question is not exactly related to Sonic, although maybe sort of. it has to do a bit with the regulations. So obviously, like, in many major countries in the world, some countries, politicians are a bit lazy and don't really care, and there's not really like defined rules, which is, kind of annoying. But in other countries, they're more like understanding of crypto. I can say, like, for example, like in the Bahamas where I'm based, the government is very, very like pro crypto. And I remember, like, when I was reading part of like their proposed legislation, so it's called like the Digital Assets Regulatory Environment. It was actually like very, very like well written, and you could definitely tell that whoever wrote it and the politicians that were involved definitely understood about like terms like DeFi, terms like blockchain, terms like a digital asset, terms like ERC20 token. And I was kind of surprised that the government in the Bahamas, which is obviously not a big place, was already like so educated about crypto. But then, and other like jurisdictions like the United Arab Emirates and Singapore are very like pro crypto and kind of see it as part of the future. But then there are other like like entities such as the European Union that have taken like an approach that's like some would consider a bit more difficult to work with the so-called like MiCA requirements. So my question to you is, like, how do you see like regulations around the world, and in particular, how do you guys see about complying with the new MiCA requirements? Because I know that a lot of projects are really struggling with it.
Yeah, it's a very difficult concept to like grasp, right? Because at one point, like, if you were in crypto before 2020 during DeFi summer, it was the Wild West. Anything and everything went. And obviously, like, that's not going to help us get 1 billion users. At some point in time, you have to have some level of, regulation, some kind of rules. It can't just be open season all the time. When it comes to specifically MiCA, it's really focused more on the custodian side. So while we are a self-custodial wallet, we don't actually store any user data. Not your keys, not your crypto. And that's something we're very focused on over at Trust Wallet. On that side as well, we want to make sure that when people talk about MiCA and these other requirements, they're targeting the right people. So for self-custodial wallet, we don't actually control user funds at all. So we want to make that important distinction. So this is kind of more so on maybe the swap providers, the on-ramps. A lot of them have to struggle with this, and we work with our partners to make sure that they are fully compliant. At the same time, we have to make sure that we protect ourselves as a self-custodial wallet, and that's our focus. But again, I think regulation is usually a good thing for adoption. Because if without regulation, you're not going to have mass adoption. You're not going to get your mother, your grandmother, your friends, your brother in crypto without some kind of regulation. But at the same time, we also don't want to inhibit our next 100 million, 200 million users from doing what they want to do.
Do you have any? Do you have to generate like I think it's called like an ESG report, like environmental or social like governance report or document to put together? Do you know if that's the case for like Trust Wallet? So
I don't really think so. Since we're not mining Bitcoin or Ethereum, we're not burning through kilowatt hours of electricity. Obviously, we're just a mobile app. So at the end of the day, I think whatever is necessary. I'm not an environmental expert, so I can't comment on that. But yeah, I think we're trying to make sure that we're having a sustainable impact.
Yeah, awesome. One of the things that one of the challenges that self-custodial wallets have is that there's a lot of people that I talk to that obviously like the convenience of a mobile app and the interface, and it's very straightforward to use. But from like what people message to me, they're always like, I don't even know that Trust Wallet isn't gonna get hacked or have like security issues, because obviously there have been other wallets out there that said that they're like self-custodian, etc., and care about security a lot. But unfortunately, for one reason or the other, they've had like an exploit that's led to the loss of user funds, unfortunately. So how do you guys see like security at Trust Wallet? Because you guys have grown substantially, and you guys seem to be like kind of like the gold standard in the space.
Yeah. So we've been around for many years now, and we take security as a top priority. We actually work with multiple third-party audit systems, so whether that be smart contract auditing, general security auditing, and then the biggest thing we have to focus a lot of time on is scammers and people who pretend to be Trust Wallet. Even just behind stage, actually, I had mentioned that someone was impersonating me on Twitter. So it's not just a Trust Wallet issue. I think it's kind of unfortunate, but it's the world we live in. When it comes to security, we make sure that we're flagging risky addresses using like different providers. so that you're not connecting to something you shouldn't be. At the end of the day, if you stay in our app, we are 100% safe. And there have been cases where, let's say, a user's funds got stuck in a swap. We reached out to those providers. We've made them whole again. So we have an amazing customer support team on our website. If you ever have a problem with Trust Wallet, you can reach out to them, and they can try and help you. But at the end of the day, if you choose to click on that link and I blindly click this sign contract, at some point in time, you have to reap what you sow. But I think it's very important for users to make sure that we're educating them to make sure that they don't click on these things on accident. And we make sure that there's plenty of banners that warn them about this type of thing.
Yeah, I think self-custody, it's kind of implied with the language, right? Is that you can educate people, but ultimately, if it's self-custody, you got to take personal responsibility, right? And some people in the space do really understand that. Other people, unfortunately, not so much, shall we say? So my next question is, how was it like to integrate, to work with us, to integrate with the Sonic network?
Honestly, it was a pleasant surprise because obviously, as a large mobile wallet, we get hit up, hundreds of times a day, like integrate my chain, integrate this swap. And honestly, I'd love to do all of them, but at the end of the day, I only have so many engineering resources, right? I can only dedicate so much time. But working with the Sonic team was very clear because we had a clear go-to-market strategy. How are we going to target this? How are we going to make sure that we have adoption? And the best part is when you work with a good team, someone that's been around for a long time in the space, they know what they're doing. And that was kind of the beauty of our partnership there. So I think that was probably my favorite part, personally.
Cool, awesome. Thanks for that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And so you guys have already grown very big, obviously. What's the next strategy in terms of features or a campaign or whatever it might be to really get the next big lot of users? Because I feel like in this space that a lot of technical people or people who are already familiar with crypto already know about Trust Wallet and probably use it to some extent. But what about those people who pretty much have no idea about crypto or don't even really know what a wallet is or the concept of it?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to talk about right now is some of the emerging markets. So where you have things like hyperinflation against your local currency, that's a serious problem. Now, for some people, like in the US, you'd say, I have US dollars, I don't care about this type of thing. But you talk about LATAM, Africa, some of these other regions where hyperinflation is a real issue, getting the ability to have a stable coin is very important. Now, if you're from the US, you might know that you can get a high yield savings and get 3.5, 4.5 secured income, passive income. But it's not available for everyone. So we recently just launched our stablecoin earn feature, and we're working to make sure that on your stables you can earn in a passive way and have it be protected by our trusted providers. So we want to make sure that that is seamless and bridging, because for a lot of our emerging countries, this is the biggest use case for them, because they have a serious issue where in 1 year they're losing 20% of their money's value. But by holding stable coins, not only are they gaining on their APY, but they're also hedging that inflation. So this is an actual real use case. It's beside just, I'm buying a meme coin and money go up, I print more. This is, the first time we're seeing a really big use case for our users here.
And is there anything else as we close up this discussion that you wanted to mention about Trust Wallet or Sonic or anything in particular?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our partnership, and I want to continue to make sure that in the future we do as much as we possibly can. We have some really exciting app updates coming out very soon. Whether that be the swaps, which we talked about before. We'll also be adding more advanced feature. But yeah, for now, we're going to keep trying doing everything we possibly can and making sure we're working with our tier 1 partners as best we can.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Nick, for
thank you for having me.
Coming to the conference. Yeah, and thanks again, Trust Wallet for sponsoring the event. You guys have been really easy and great to work with and to organize this as well. And again, thank you everyone for attending this afternoon. And there'll be a few more presentations afterwards, and then there'll be an evening event as well. So looking forward to talking to you guys all more there as well. So enjoy the rest of the afternoon and evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again for having me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.